Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload. Shall we? Alright guys, so we are almost at 100,000 subscribers. For the last 7 years, we have been looking at experiences, periodic connections, talking about Dulce, having a lot of fun looking at readily available information that we all kind of heard before, and with all of the recycled stuff that's online, and you have multitudes of channels and multitudes of people, of book writers and this and that, just sharing the same information, just reworded. I decided that at 100,000, what we'll do is we will always share experiences, whether it be cryptid, paranormal, high strangeness, because that is the heart of the channel. But the connections are there. And the connections are the alien agenda, the one world government, the powers that be, the ones that feed us the information. People are like, well, how come we don't hear about Bigfoot and Dogman attacks in the newspapers? Well, because the media is a large contributor to the government. So if the government doesn't want anything shared, the media will not share it. Just like Big Pharma, Big Tech. These corporations, these entities, they're not even corporations, they are entities, run the world. People are like, who runs the world? It's these entities. But the thing is those entities are ran by something far more powerful than we could even fathom. And the majority of us know what it is. We all know. We just are, honestly, a lot of us are too afraid to even say it. Unfortunately, there is a satanic connection, a demonic connection. And it connects it all. It connects from CIA, Dogman, UFO, MK Ultra. It's all connected, all of it. And it's all powered by one facet, one controlling brand. I don't know what else to call it. So what I decided to do is I'm going to share some pretty damning evidence, along with one heck of an experience with information and true backing to those Dogman experiences, paranormal experiences, all resulting in when someone messed with the powers that be. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I see the channel staying the way it's been, but actually just instead of being leery and making sure that I don't say something that will put a target on my back. I always thought that at 100,000 I can talk about what I want to talk about. But that just puts a bigger target on your back. Who cares anymore? I don't. I never thought this channel would even hit 100,000. I am blessed to have you guys watch this channel and share your information, share your feedback with me. So it's my turn to pay you guys back with information that I've been sitting on. If you agree or find any of this as fascinating as I do and you see the connection, please share this video, because that's the only way any of the information that truly needs to be heard will be heard. Is there a mysterious and superior third force that is covertly manipulating the world through small number of super elites who run the world's most powerful nations? Is the third force non-human or alien, and are the major world powers being separately controlled by this entity in different dress inside each nation state's highest echelons of government? Is there an overall coordinated purpose of this third force to create a NWO globalist one world tyranny? What are its goals and methods, and how long has this entity been influencing mankind? Is their apparent endgame a drastic reduction of the world's population through mass eugenics or world war, after which they plan to establish a one world global empire with a single dictator, a new Caesar of the ages? Do they plan to destroy the human race as it is now and morph it into a new transhuman genetic organism to function as their slaves? Is the third force a completely evil, non-human parasite with superior intelligence that promotes the philosophy, the end justifies the means, in order to more quickly attain its long-term goals? How can it be stopped cold in its tracks? And has this entity ever been? This is an attempt to shed some light on this little discussed, quite shadowy subject, and perhaps provide a framework for some plausible answers from what is now known or strongly suspected. Every day there appears to be more disclosures, leaks, and new findings about who really runs this world, the hidden hand, and the powers that be. And what is being revealed is not a pretty picture, but it appears that those who uncover this entity are staring pure evil in its face, which makes it incredulous to most. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know, even as I am known. In every battle, whether overt war or covert power struggles, there is a force, the first force, at some point met by a counterforce, the second. Coalitions may be formed as an additional counterforce, and these are best described as the third force. However, in most cases, the third force can exert much more power and exist without being specifically targeted when carefully concealed or covert. In recent years, numerous researchers and journalists have been connecting the dots as never before, and have started arriving at a conclusion that there is a secret, covert, major, and very powerful bad-to-the-bone third force which appears to have captured most of the major nation states of the world and appears to have somehow gained control over its leaders, to act like a parasite upon their citizens while cooperating with each other to produce a NWO globalist tyranny. The constructions of this NWO tyranny is based on a systematic deployment of high-tech mass mind control technologies, mind war through advanced psychotronics, planned engineered disasters, and economic breakdown to create more control, deployment of eugenics, GMO toxic foods, mass death through provoked inhuman wars. Provoked inhuman wars. What's that mean? Just think about that one for a second. And it appears that this is all being done to destroy the human race and create a new transhuman race to take its place using new gene splicing technologies, development of the triple helix, and animal-human chimera programs. Think about that. What do we talk about every day? The third force appears to be obsessed with gaining power through any means, and its operative ideology, is ends justifies the means, with absolutely no value placed on human life, a complete lack of love or any humanity at all. And those who are its useful idiots, the cutouts of this third force, has placed in power to run each of the top nation states, show no value of human life, have been caught in massive illegal drug trafficking, bribery of officials, child, then assassinations, politicians, judges, leaders of the military, alphabets in LE, as well as prominent businessmen. So those are the people that run the thing, run this. They are not the entity. They are the ones that the useful idiots. And with every listing, massive illegal drug trafficking, bribery, keep going, the most disgusting, depraved people, then assassinations, politicians, judges. We can all think of those people. We can name those people. You can literally name them. And yet we just went, there's the connection. Human, animal, chimera programs. And then the useful idiots. There's a connection. I mean, it's... The term pure sociopath has been applied to describe these folks based on their apparent lack of any visible humanity. And some clergy have hypothesized that these folk either have no soul or are demon or jinn infested. One thing is for sure, it is very difficult for an average person to understand the depth of evil of the minions and cutouts surrounding the third force. And now we in America have a government which says it is okay to assassinate anyone they say deserves it, and does so. Murderers, folks, without any legal representation by remotely fired missiles or drones, says it's okay to kidnap folks right off the street, tag them, place them on offshore secret black op prisons, no trial, and even execute them. We have USG, which basically does anything it wants, all justified by the current war on terror, which it declared in response to 9/11's attacks, which it did itself help from foreign allies, all instituted as a secret false flag attack. And this third force has captured major mass media through its cutouts, American intel, and the military, creating a near complete lockdown on the nation's news and reducing this media to little more than USG propaganda. That's why we don't hear about anything that, we barely hear about these animal attacks. Like when we do, it's so little. Like Tony Aaron's Amber Miller. I am surprised we got so much information out of the Brenda Hamilton attack. I am surprised that we even heard that the community that Brenda Hamilton lived in fought so hard to keep the the case going, the investigations going into her attack. That is because these useful idiots. Where's the connections, Jeff? I just shared them all with you. This is insane. And I've been sitting on this for a couple years now. And the human animal chimera program that's been going on since the 50s, and yet it's nothing new. Where did we learn how to do it? The fallen angels. They were the ones that taught mankind all of our disgusting habits and traits that we have that are impure. Every time the third force wants more power and control, it plans and institutes an engineered disaster, either weather, financial, legislative, or stages additional acts of individual mass terror. The third force appears to be exceedingly evil, obsessed with generating mass death and suffering of the masses, which makes it hard for most folks to believe it exists, even when the evidence is shown to them and they are informed about it. Until recently, for the most part, this third force has remained hidden and has continued to appear quite mysterious to those researchers who studied its strange and evil productions all around the world. Is the Roman statue depiction of the third force, the senior Illuminati elder? Many historians have stated there is a strong hidden hand in the background controlling world events. They sense this third force, but decline to identify it or its most visible minions. As Woodrow Wilson's famous quote goes, "Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States, in the field of commerce and manufacturing, are afraid of somebody, are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so perverse, that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it." Some researchers have hypothesized that he is speaking of the international bankers, the world money changers working out of the city of London's financial district. Others hypothesize that these bankers are merely the cutouts or servants or useful idiots of a much more sinister controlled group called the Olympiads, the Illuminati, or its various occult names for it. And it has been suggested numerous times that this force, a mighty force for evil in the world, has attained power over the nation states by setting up puppets to control them to conform to their overall world goals. Up until recently, little was researched, written, or known about such international power groups, the powers that be, and what the proof is of their existence, or in what form they actually exist. With the advent of the World Wide Web, this has all changed. There's been an explosion of research and disclosure about this third force. So, before we get into the next part, the proof is coming out more and more how dastardly, what a word, the world that we live in now is. You know, if you just think about all of the things that we talk about on a daily basis on this channel, all experiences that we hear about on other channels or read about or whatever, those are connected to each other. They are connected to everything that is going on. The reason why we don't hear about as much as we should the Tic Tac, UFOs, the alien that was recently spotted on a ring cam in Compton. Like, did you notice how fast the Las Vegas, the young boy Angel, last 2 years ago, how quick that headline news disappeared? Police were talking about this. Policemen. Why? Because the media then shares, the garbage that we are getting exposed to on a daily basis. Like, when in this, I am not a political person. I'm not some assassin that will down each side. I don't care. I stand on my side, and I know who I am, and I know what I believe in. And that's Jesus, and I believe in America. But when has it ever been okay to talk negatively about a president? When has it ever been okay to verbally, physically abuse a person or a president while being a president or not being a president, regardless if you like the person or not? They are the president. When has it been okay to have the former president's crack-addled son do an interview for 3 hours? Do you recall JFK Jr. doing anything like that? Because I don't. And just like Candace Owens said a while ago, I don't think we've had transparency since before JFK was assassinated. This, and even that assassination happened for a reason. And that's why Bill Cooper has it in his book, Behold the Pale Horse. It's all connected. These are a list of people that I hope you to check out. Thanks to the works of numerous excellent, very well-informed researchers, historians, and journalists, and intel experts like Jim Mars, Richard Dolan, Peter Lavenda, Gordon Duff, Greg Hollett, Michael Sparks, Joseph P. Farrell, and Joel Skosen. Things which were previously hidden are now being revealed as never before, and we are now able to start to see what has previously been an invisible secret, the apparent hidden hand, a recent contemporary history. Their findings and informed speculations, along with numerous well-defined leaks from informed sources, describe a highly possible, can now be put together in a descriptive matrix to suggest a plausible construct of this third force in the world today. It is now possible to make reasonable hypothesis about the third force, which has been mysteriously and covertly influencing human destiny in a blatantly evil and foreboding fashion, and has apparently compartmentalized itself under different dress among few of the most powerful nations in order to pit them against each other as a continuing strategy of tension to divide and conquer. It's exactly what they're doing to us right now. That's why we forget about these things. We forget about Andrew Dawson. We forget about Angel and the alien experience that he had in Las Vegas. That was freaking major news. Tony Aarons, Amber Miller, we forget about those attacks. I don't, you don't, but the populace does, because they feed us this fodder. In order to understand what this third force is and how it works, as well as how it can effectively be stopped, it's essential to examine the British Empire, how it evolved, and how it was stopped cold in the pursuit of tyranny in the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. It has been trying ever since to reassert itself and resume its strategy to fully impose a complete tyranny in America through its control over our monetary production and distribution system, and only now is it starting to make it last big move before the third force is finished with it and discharges it to junk pile of history. British Empire is a contemporary poster child for the third force, but its hidden hand probably has also controlled Bolshevik Russia, Stalinist Russia, Nazi Germany, most China, ancient Rome, Greece, Egypt under the pharaohs, and many other ancient nations. So I am not talking about the third families or the 13 families when I talk about these entities. We are talking about the one entity, the connection, the main connection. Just like when I said, where did we learn these certain things that we have possible? From the fallen angels. It appears that once this parasite has extracted all of the lifeblood of a nation state and destroyed it, it then moves on and selects a new host in its ever-widening quest to build an NWO globalist one-world tyranny, which some have called the Plan of Ages or the Plan of Ancients. The City of London's sophisticated and noticeably superior methods of using covert means, including money, to divide and conquer, was so successful that England was given the insider's nickname, Perfidious Albion. The useful definition of perfidious are underhanded, treacherous, deceitful, lying, evil, tendency to betray, unfaithful. Albion is a classical name for the English Isles. The Carthaginians had been known for these techniques by the Romans, who looked down on them for using them. Any article on this subject would be remiss without even mentioning the work of David Icke, the infamous British soccer champion, former broadcaster who has come to the conclusion that England is controlled by shape-shifting dragon beings with superior intelligence, and these entities can assume human form, but are evil to the core and basically have hijacked the world. Icke has uncovered some very important information, such as the official coat of arms of the City of London and its mascot Draco, the great dragon god. Homeland Security and its preemptive programming. Thus, these potential enemies of Homeland Security are defined as potential domestic terrorists and have been identified as returning vets, gun owners, Ron Paul supporters, constitutionalists, tax protesters, Tea Party members, which I call myself a Republican Tea Party member, and those with liberty-ordained bumper stickers. In fact, a whole U.S. military plan has been developed and published to attack and subdue a town which supposedly would be taken over by a Tea Party. Those who set up to run Homeland Security are operating under the perfidious divide and conquer methods of the Crown, and has been known to suggest that perhaps it is under control of the folks who run the City of London financial district, a separate country with its own ambassadors like the Vatican. So there is the City of London inside of London. My folks from across the pond will know what I'm talking about. And these are just like, I am just quickly sharing a little bit of the information of what this entity does to block out and gain, because we talk about the end of days. Well, it's happening right now, but it's not just going to happen with a mass panic of werewolves and dogmen and crawlers and Bigfoots running down our street. It's going to eventually come down to something similar to that, but it's all going to go to shit first. And then these things will come out and hunt humans. Or bring us to places that we may never be seen again. It's evident. It's evident. Maybe these 411s, Maybe the 411s that we know so well are a trial run. A trial run for what really is going to happen very soon. Why wasn't anything of Tom Mezek's found? You know, where are these people? How does someone just disappear? With the technology that we have, no one should disappear. No one. I mean, unless, you know, they are, you know, mob hit and tossed into the ocean and sleeping with the fish. But that's not what's happening. These people are in the woods hiking or hunting or doing something that they enjoy, and then boop, gone. Deep underground military bases or deep underground bases. I don't know why they put military in those, because these bases have been here long before our military or even our government has had the ability to create them. It's a rather new thing if you really think about in the length of time. If you look at time as like on a large scale, 100 years isn't that long, you know. So these bases have been found and aged as over thousands of years, some of them. During World War II, the Nazis built numerous underground bases and factories to protect their operations from the Allied carpet bombing. This was nothing new, as this has been done numerous times in history by various groups moved underground to obtain protection during civil strife or wartime. After World War II, a Cold War set off a massive effort by the Soviets to build underground bases, and a whole separate city has been built under Moscow, part of which is now being reactivated, perhaps suggesting the new Cold War in the making. And after the Roswell crash and other similar incidents in America's Southwest, the United States began a long-term effort, which is still ongoing, to build deep underground bases with special high-powered tunnel boring machines that are nuclear-powered. Rumors from informed sources have stated that there are numerous deep underground bases spread across the United States located 1 to 2 miles underground that are interconnected by high-speed trains. There are also numerous rumors at well-informed sources that it is highly possible that very, very strange biomedical, genetic, and mind control experiments are going on in these bases, and that there is an involvement with the extraterrestrial or non-human entities, according to treaties in place which allow for high technology transfer to the DoD contractors in exchange for consideration no normal American citizen would ever accept. There has been some reports from well-connected folk who claim that some of these secret underground bases have been built and occupied as joint ventures between non-human superior beings and the American military and private contractors with beyond black secret security clearance. Of course, it is now known that Russia is now building new deep underground bases, as is China and other nations. And DoD contractors are building a massive underground base somewhere in the Middle East. How is that? The question is, why are the major world powers building these? What do they believe they need them for? Obviously, these efforts have been so expensive, they have nearly bankrupted every country, and has added to current wars like NFTA, CAFTA, GATT, and WTO, and there isn't much left for the American worker. game plan. Could it be that the game plan of the third force is to deceive these other countries like Russia into a massive nuclear strike against America to stop its blatant world aggression in the Middle East and Africa? If it occurs, it perhaps would start a World War III, nuclear World War III, that would decapitate all major governments due to a pre-planned, sophisticated sabotage of both sides, deep underground military bases, remove most world rulers, kind of like a huge worldwide night of long knives. What better way to deceive these super elites tied up than to get them working day and night, going underground where they can easily be dealt with? Now, that's the thing right there. What better way to deceive the super elites? So we have all of these people talking about how the super elites are really running the world, but they're not. They are the useful idiots for the one entity that has this plan that, unfortunately, this has been going on since long before humans, and it's prophesized in the Bible. It's crazy to think about. If you think about the Book of Enoch, the Book of Giants, these lost books, the lost writings of John, or whatever, the mentions of the Nephilim, the mentions of the fallen angel, and the evils that they did. And like I said in the very beginning of all of this, the human-animal chimera programs, that was taught to us by the fallen angels. They were the initial ones to do it. I truly believe that the crawlers are some sort of genetic creation by the Draconian or Draco, the Grey, together, which I believe these creatures are demons. To me, a alien Grey, or alien Grey, quotes, looks a hell of a lot like a demon. I just don't. And then to even entertain the idea that, these things are just observing us is so funny. They are and have been manipulating us because they are demons working for that one entity that wants to have control, which we already know, according to the Bible, at the end of it all, he won't. But we may not be here. So, it's kind of a lose-lose for us, right? Anyway. Once the world leaders have been removed and the world has suffered a major depopulation, perhaps of the scope illustrated in the Georgia Guidestones, then would these entities comprising of the third force and their small number of human colleagues return from their off-world breakaway society to set up and assume control of the NWO globalist system they have been working on for years? Is this third force what the nobility called the teeming power of Lucifer that controls the whole earth within limits allowed by God Almighty? Certainly anyone who looks at all ends justify the means criminal acts by these ruling super elites that control the modern governments of the world. It's quite obvious that these folks have been working on the dark side and have been for most of the parts, specializing in pure evil. This even when leaked to the public, is so incredulous in most cases that it cannot fit into their heads and is just rejected out of hand. Some have claimed that these alien entities they call extraterrestrials or ETs or demons are actually benevolent and are here to rescue mankind itself. Best evident to date, that's not true. At least for those who have predominantly been subject to these creatures. This is based on reports of a treaty made by President Eisenhower with some which started out good and ended with these ETs providing or proving to be very deceptive and notably evil and predatory. If the third force actually exists and it is an evil entity of superior knowledge and power, what exactly are its apparent end goals? According to numerous interlocking occult secret societies which cover the face of the earth, this power is Luciferian, energy from the dark side, and its final goal is a one-world global system with one single ruler, Lucifer. They call this Lucifer rising, and expect him to be seated in the New World Church Temple in Jerusalem. And these folks have pointed out that evidence of this was the obsession with capture of Jerusalem during the Crusades by the so-called royal families, who have been accused of being the sacred or selected bloodlines. Others say this is hogwash, is merely a cover story to appease those of the masses who are curious, when the real secret is that the third force are extraterrestrial or demons that have come to the earth as a parasite to con and manipulate to fulfill their own secret agenda. Some refer to this as the alien agenda, which is to create a NWO globalist system with a greatly reduced population, complete control, access to human genetics, to create a new transhuman hybrid race and full access to all Earth's resources, supposedly all to be done in order to quarantine the Earth and keep it from harming the universe as they develop nuclear technology, which will and can get out of hand. Substantial evidence right here that this is actually happening and actually exists. The evidence that UFOs are IFOs, and that the super elites of the major world powers have made treaties with these non-human entities in order to obtain their superior high technology, which includes anti-gravity, high-tech weapon systems. It appears that the third force is alien or non-human or demons. There have been numerous reports from well-connected folk that the major world powers have been approached separately by different alien or non-human entities or demons who have convinced them to accept a specific alien agenda. Treaties have apparently been made to exchange high technology of a wide variety of anti-gravity weapons, mind control, weather engineering, and exchange for cooperation in various projects to assist these creatures in obtaining their agenda. And some well-respected researchers and journalists believe that there has been an alien agenda imposed inside of DC's Beltway from the third force to manipulate politicians, officials, and super elites have behave in ways best described as unconstitutional, traitorous, evil, anti-human, and financially parasitic. This has appeared to be a complete and mysterious contradiction in terms for folks elected to serve their constituents, and go so far off course that they end up supporting numerous illegal, unconstitutional, unprovoked, undeclared, massive internal military police state mechanisms to wage war against their people, especially those who are now demanding that these politicians and officials honor their oaths to whichever constitution they swore to us, the U.S., to protect and preserve the Republic from all foreign and domestic entities. Of course, there are many that say that there is no extraterrestrial or any superior non-human that have been in contact with selected leaders of America or even Russia. So, pretty much, that is just a piece of what I have been sitting on. That is the, not even, I could probably make 3 years, literally 3 years of 1 hour uploads every day of all of this information, ranging from MK Ultra, ranging from the global elite to, I mean, whatever you want to even get into. Subterranean trails or subterranean tunnels, the genetic wars as a result of the fallen angels, monoatomic shape-shifting reptilian control, the 12th planet, Nibiru, and even just a little bit of, little bit of what everyone talks about that consider themselves a conspiracist on YouTube. They'll say, this is just, and this is where I want the channel to head to. I want to start looking at the connections like I just shared with you. And it was started off right with the Human Animal Chimera Project. I literally have probably 12, 15 hours of information just containing that. Just containing, I mean, we could even get into a high level MK Ultra victim, Arizona Wilder. This is just stuff that I have been sitting on. There's a reason why I turned my life back to Christ. There's a reason why, and it's because of this information that was sent to me 3 years ago. Prior to this, I believed in a one creator. I believed in one God. I did know of Christ. Obviously, I was confirmed, baptized, confirmed, Holy Communion. But I turned my back and went and looked at my family's, my mother's side of the family's native religion, where I did sweat lodges, where I participated in going into powwows, which I loved. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But what I think is wrong is turning your back on Christ. Prior to that, I used to say, may the Great Spirit watch over us all. But just those words alone were kind of blasphemous, maybe. And then when I got this information from a gentleman who has clearance, I read a lot of it, not all of it. I've not even finished reading all of this information. But I decided it was time to turn my life back over to Christ. Because if if any of this is going to happen, if there is a chance of being on the winning side, that's where I want to be. And it doesn't mean my life winning. It means my soul. Now I'm going to share with you guys some more Dogman connections when the useful idiots use Dogman and use paranormal to control the narrative. And I've talked a little bit about this, but I've got some more in-depth information too. Most people who spent more than a day on Skinwalker Ranch brought something home with them from the property. The effect was almost universal and universally unpleasant, even during the NIDS days when Keller and Eric Davis spent hundreds of days on night watch on the ranch, 96 to 99. Their wives would occasionally remark waking up at night seeing people in their bedrooms or black shadows walking through their home. These post-ranch events were noticeable but mild during the NID years, but they escalated dramatically with the AAWSAP BAASS program at the ranch in 2009. All 5 actively serving intelligence agency personnel who visited the ranch during these program days experienced profound anomalies on the property, and even more importantly, all 5 brought something home with them. Jonathan Axelrod and his family were the poster child for the eruption of anomalies in their home following the trips to Skinwalker Ranch. For more than a dozen years following his July 2009 and subsequent trips to the ranch, Axelrod's wife, then teenage children, were subjected to nightmarish dogmen appearing in their backyard, a blue, red, yellow, and white orbs routinely floating through their home and in the yard as well. They would see black shadow people standing over their beds when they awoke, and 2 relentless barrage of loud unexplained footsteps walking up and down the stairs of their house. What was once a normal middle-class home in the suburbs of Virginia became an inferno of bizarre unexplained phenomena, and Axelrod and his family were certain that the trigger for all the transformation was his first trip to the Skinwalker Ranch. It is indeed lucky that Axelrod's family was and is extremely stable, psychologically well-adjusted and grounded, and prone to matter-of-fact reactions to these events. In vivid contrast to the reaction of the Axelrod family is the reaction of Juliet Witt and her then roommate to an intense poltergeist activity that erupted in their home following her 2-day visit to Skinwalker Ranch, August of 2009. The sudden eruption of poltergeist activity, during which 2 wine bottles were flung across the room, ceiling fans would turn on, TVs turn off on their own, lights going off or flickering, something showing up piled at the base of the stairs, clothing moved and laid out on their daughter's bedroom floor with no one else in the house, has continued to this day. The paranormal intrusion into the Witt's house originally caused a severe emotional reaction in her roommate, had provoked the young man to leave the house. This emotional outcome of the Skinwalker transmission event was a warning to other military personnel who were contemplating spending time at the ranch. So it was a warning right there. It says, and this is in this book, Skinwalker at the Pentagon. I know a lot of people, when they hear that title, they literally automatically think the Native American Navajo Yenatalushi, the Skinwalker. But that's not, in fact, what the title is about. It is technically saying the demons reside in our government. Is basically the gist of the book. If you read this book, you will see that that one statement that I made is a true statement. And that last sentence, this emotional outcome of the Skinwalker transmission event was a warning to other military personnel who are contemplating spending time at Skinwalker Ranch. Costigan's wife, Leah, had a very close encounter with Blue Orb back in Maryland in 2009. Axelrod's family suffered health effects with his wife having lupus, diagnosed with lupus right after. Both Axelrod's teenagers also suffered intense flu-like symptoms at different times following anomalies in the home, with the most serious medical symptom occurring to the younger teenager being attacked at night by blue and red orbs in his room. And then there's people who were part of the investigations. Some were diagnosed with Graves' disease, a salivary and tear gland, Hashimoto, thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and because of HIPAA acts, they can't share who or what. But there's just so much in that, like it's a warning. Don't go there. Don't go there and try to expose or uncover what the hell is really going on. Why? Because the useful idiots will tell the entity or entities that are in charge, and they will cause you paranormal, cryptid. So this is a little more in depth of what Axelrod's family went through. Two days after returning home, Jonathan Axelrod said strange things began to happen, not to him, but to his family. At 2 a.m., while he and his wife were asleep, she suddenly awoke to see a black shape moving toward her. Startled, she instantly turned on the light, finding nothing there. Thinking she had been dreaming, she turned off the light and tried to go back to sleep. However, 10 minutes later, she heard the sound of footsteps on the stairs. She left the bed and walked to the landing, but nobody was there. Thinking it was probably one of the boys, she walked out of her bedroom to find them both sleeping. They thought this was an isolated incident, but a few weeks later, strange activity returned, and it began to escalate. What was even stranger was that the phenomena seemed to know when Jonathan was not there. He was out of town on business. Over several nights, his 16-year-old son was awakened to find multiple blue orbs flying around his room. The glowing orbs appeared to possess intelligence, moving closer to him as if inspecting him, almost touching him. One night, he was awoke suddenly by a shocking sight. He saw two bright blue orbs hovering near the ceiling, their light illuminating the dark room. Soon after, two red ones appeared, their intense color contrasting the cool blue, and they began to move closer, almost touching him. His body was suddenly engulfed in searing pain. He felt red welts appear on his face, neck, torso, and arms, which were physical manifestations of a supernatural encounter he had just had. His wife continued to hear loud noises in the kitchen after everyone had gone to bed for the night, and shadow figures still haunted their bedroom. Jonathan suspected this was somehow related to his visit to Skinwalker Ranch. Something had followed him home, a hitchhiker. Jonathan Axelrod's visit to the Skinwalker Ranch was followed by unexplainable occurrences at his family home, raising questions about the nature of these events. Some speculate that Axelrod's intrusion into the ranch may have caused a visitation, opening a portal or gateway in their home and allowing interdimensional forces to cross over. Others wonder if this phenomena is akin to a paranormal virus, causing unwitting carriers to bring entities from the ranch back home and creating a symbiotic relationship between human host and the entities. Could there be paranormal contagion aspect and exotic virus that there is to be paranormal causes strange occurrences once someone visits and infects family members? Questions challenge the family to confront the possibility that they have become intertwined with these unknown forces, forever altering their perception of reality and inviting an unwelcomed guest into their home. Furthermore, there may be an aspect of quantum entanglement at play, where the experiences at Skinwalker Ranch have caused the family to quarantine states to become entangled with those of the entities, resulting in bizarre and unexplainable connection that transitions notations of space and time. One night when Jonathan was out of town, his wife had a frightful experience. As she's turning off the lights in the kitchen, she was about to go upstairs, and she happened to look out to the backyard where she saw movement. Curious, she walked over to a window to get a better look. Near the trees at the perimeter of the yard, she noticed a huge wolf-like creature standing on its hind legs and leaning against a tree. She was terrified by the terrifying sight. The creature had long black hair, its eyes glowed yellow, holding a captivating gaze. She watched it as it took one final look at her and walked away on its hind legs, disappearing into the trees. She then tried to convince herself that what she had just witnessed was a hallucination. In a moment of panic, she picked up the phone and then placed it back down. What she could possibly say to her husband? That she had just seen a werewolf in her backyard? She was feeling confused and didn't want to bother Jonathan. Thinking that she was just overtired, she pushed the thought out of her mind and went upstairs. Days later, around 10:30 a.m., the two boys were in the living room. One of them went to the kitchen and saw movement in the backyard. Much to his surprise, a huge wolf-like creature stood on its hind legs and leaned against the tree. It appeared to be staring at him. He called for his brother, who quickly came into the kitchen, sensing the urgency. He pointed out the window, and he saw the 7-foot creature. Both experienced fear like they had never felt before. The creature began to run, not at all fours, but on two toward the tree line. Its long stride seemed impossible for a canine to do. Shortly afterward, the mom returned home from shopping, and the boys hurried to tell her about what they had seen. Chills ran down her spine as they described in great detail the creature was identical to what she had seen. She now realized that none of this had been in her imagination, and it sickened her to think what her boys had seen alone. When Jonathan returned from his trip the next evening, the boys reached out to share the details of that day's encounter. They had done a little research and thought the creature may have looked like a Dogman, a being from Paranormal. Body of a wolf, stance of a human, known with glowing eyes and elusive nature. Next day, they went out into the backyard to search for any evidence the creature was there. There were numerous trees that had fresh, deep marks in the bark, like they had been clawed down vertical lines. Soon the entire family experienced health issues. The boys suffered from intense flu-like symptoms after being attacked by the orbs. The mother had flare-ups, lupus, and Raynaud's disease. And then, obviously, what I told you about the other intelligent officer's wife. So, how and the thing is how they described the creature, how it looked at the mother through the window, boom, up close, terrifying her, like literally terrifying her, and then up the tree, in the trees, gone. We hear they lurk in trees. We know they do already. This is in 2009. That's, 16 years ago. 16 years ago, these cases were documented. Who used these creatures and the other phenomena to keep Axelrod and the other four from talking? The one entity that is in charge, or his minions. And that, my friends, is the connections. So I honestly hope, I really do hope that you enjoyed today's upload. Because honestly, I want the channel to stay where it is in how we do things. But I want to explore the avenues of everything that we talked about today. The connections, the experiences. Still sharing the experiences. Obviously, I've got a ton of subscriber experience. I got an interview coming up with a gentleman that reached out to me a couple days ago. I guess he had been on a couple other shows, but he said that he said he thought about reaching out to me first, but apparently he was intimidated by me. Why? Because I'm just a regular guy. And I don't know too much about these people that he interviewed with, but really nice guy, super nice. And so with a pretty intense, very interesting experience, actually. A couple of interesting experiences. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll give you a little rundown of what his experiences were. Because the interview will be coming up soon. So, screw it. Let me... All right. North Georgia, driving home at approximately 11 at night, noticed what I thought was a bear on the side of the road. And as I got 20 feet away from this thing, I saw it stand up taller than my 95 Toyota pickup with a 3-inch lift and 31s. It turned, then one step effortlessly stepped over the bridge concrete guardrail, which was substantially taller than a metal guardrail, with a total ease. That was his first. Then fast forward to 2010-11, within 3 to 5 miles of the first encounter. This time my then girlfriend was with me, approximately 10:30. It just finished raining. She and I were on our way home from seeing her uncle, who was about to die with pancreatic cancer. A very sad night driving home. Very little traffic on a 2-lane back road. We came around a curve to see what I initially thought was a deer. Same color, approximately the same height. At this time, I was in an Infiniti sedan. As I approached, I I then thought maybe I was looking at a huge coyote. My girlfriend asked, what was that? Or what is that? And I could not tell her. The thing then proceeded to run down the white line of the road in front of us at about 20 miles an hour for a good 1 minute. Occasionally looking back at us to the point where she was frantically screaming. So that's just a little bit of what he has to share with us. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, I have all of these encounters that people send to me and interviews lined up, right? But I still want to progress. I still want the channel to progress. And I've been sitting on this information for too long. You know, like what you just heard today was not the recycled bullcrap that is talked about everywhere else. You know? And I want to get to those rabbit holes with you guys and look into them with you guys. So I hope that you guys are down with the progression, because that's what's going to happen. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be a very interesting learning experience for myself and you. And with that, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.